They just keep stacking dubs. They just keep stacking dubs, right? And I've heard some people say, hey, they're not even playing that well. I think that that's a subjective thing. They haven't been shooting the ball that well. And that's what's so encouraging. Despite not shooting well at times, they're still racking up wins. Well, last night at Chase Center, the lid comes off. And it felt like they were due for one of those performances. And frankly, it almost felt like they needed it against a feisty young Blazers team. But let's start with Agent Zorro, GP2, the masked man, the Phantom Menace, right? Now, patrons know this, and people that follow my content closely, I've been complaining about this thing that GP2 does on the catch for years now. And if you haven't noticed it, when I say it, in your mind, you'll see it and you'll be like, he does do that, right? GP2 breaks the cardinal sin of shooting. He looks down at the line or looks down at the ball to find the seams when he catches the ball on those corner threes. And for years, I've been like, dude, you have to stop doing that. It's like, it's knocking at least 10% off your percentages as a shooter out there, right? Well, it's funny, what unintended consequences happen with things, right? Injuries, and we stumble into things, right? We've been talking about that this year. Well, GP2 wearing the mask, I think that it's forcing him to focus his eyes at the rim quickly. And on several of those 4 threes last night, he didn't do his little tick of looking down at the rim and looking down at the ball. And all of a sudden, what do you know? He's knocking them down. It's the quiet eye, right? You look it up in sports, golfers, shooters, Steph, bowlers, dart players, right? The elites of shooting and in baseball, any sport, golf, they have a quiet eye, which essentially means their eye locks on the target quicker than the normal athlete or player. And so you can try it yourself as a hooper. Go shoot free throws, right? And that's the number one thing with guys missing free throws is they don't get their eyes to the rim on time. They do their routine, and then they shoot it, right? Get your eye to the rim a beat quicker and see what the results are. And so I think with that mask kind of blocking his peripheral, all of a sudden he's like targeting the rim quicker. And let's not act like this isn't a contract year for GP2. He's been playing well even before the mask. And I had said before, like when the Jimmy trade happened, GP2's no dummy. He did the math. He looked at the roster and the rotations and he realized like, hey, if I don't start taking and making these threes, my minutes are going to go down in a contract year, right? And so you combine all that and you have a career night from GP2. And that's really what led to Jimmy's first career triple-double as a Warrior, right? The fact that Buddy in GP2 went nuts from the three-point line racked up Jimmy's assists. And the hilarious thing about, did you see the back and forth with Jimmy post-game and Buddy? I guess this is an ongoing thing with their two big personalities. But whenever you ask somebody to spell a word that they just used, you're high-key calling them dumb. Right? You're like, hey, spell that, right? Like, Jimmy. So, hey, as long as, it's an ongoing relationship. And Buddy, man, I think for him, he's making the second pass specifically in transition and in pace, right? Where he gets out of control. I think that they've maybe told him, like, Buddy, just don't shoot layups. Push the ball and move the ball. But I know for me as a shooter, when you make the extra pass and you contribute in other ways. Defensively, he's been a lot better, right? It takes the pressure off making shots because you're doing other things. And so I think Buddy, it's not only helping his shot selection to make the extra pass, but it's probably alleviating some of the pressure of him being the second shooter, right? And so the hands, right? That's another one of my alchemy rules are, listen, if you're a prolific shooter, you have good hands. Like it goes hand in hand, right? And so, he's starting to strip and rip the ball, and he's and I think it's the same thing that they're kind of coaching up with Moody in a different way. It's like, hey, you having trouble staying in front of guys, disrupt with your hands. And so, you get a game like that from Buddy and GP2, you got to win it, right? You got to win that game. I wanted to focus a little bit on the center matchup. The two rookies, Donovan Clingan and Quentin Post, get the start. Now, Clingan, what was he, the 7th pick? Right, at a national championship. And he and Edie were both controversial prospects because of the way the game's played, their size, their mobility, right? And I was pretty impressed with Klingen's ability to get out to the 3-point line at his size. And then he is so big at the rim, he doesn't really have to jump to block and contest your shots. And it throws guys off because, pump fakes and some of the normal stuff that works on other shot blockers, it doesn't work on him because he's not really going to leave his feet because he doesn't have to. Right? You saw GP2 try to put another body on the mantle there at the end of the game, and you see at 280 pounds, Klingen, you can't knock him back. That's another thing. When he gets vertical, you're not knocking him back like some of these other guys. But all in all, I think I like Quentin Post better. Like his feet are quicker, his mind is quicker, and I think he's just got more juice. He's Quentin Post looks like an elite competitor. Right? And the game starts out and Klingen blocks him twice. He gets hung at the rim and he comes back and fires 2 threes. Right? And in all the little scraps for the loose balls at the rim and the physical positioning, Post was winning those. He was the aggressor, even though he's giving up 40 pounds. Klingen's hands look a little suspect. So I'm not here to shit on Klingen. I think he's a fine player, but you take him at the 7th pick, and Quentin Post, to me, again, I'm biased, obviously, but I like him as a center prospect better. Hey, you got to credit Dunleavy, man. You got to credit Dunleavy because he's way, you heard Fitz say it last night, he's way more than a shooter. And again, what he lacks in verticality, he's making up for with his mind, his quick feet, his quick decision making. Now, the foul issue is going to be an ongoing thing, as it is with most young big men, right? But where I think it may be unavoidable for him is the contests at the rim, where you see he doesn't have that verticality. And so when a bigger guy gets up above the rim or up at the square, one of these Shaden Sharp type of athletes, when he goes to contest, he's just going to get the arm. I think he's going to have a hard time peaking that. Now, what he could learn is from Draymond, because Draymond is a master at blocking guys on the way down from their apex. Draymond doesn't try to high point you at your apex. He times it so you get up to the top of your apex, and as you're coming down to put it in the rim, then he gets you. And so that will take time to develop, but that would be the answer to that. But just the way he moves his feet, competes, he chains efforts together. I really think that Quentin, and maybe I'm forgetting somebody here and y'all can remind me, but he is going to be our best center since Andrew Bogut. Like it's a big deal, and he's probably not getting enough shine because of the Jimmy move and because of everything else that's going on with the team. But it's a huge part of what's going on, right? And then back to the GP2 performance, it might be a Rip Hamilton thing, right? He might have to just keep the mask so his peripheral can lock on to the rim. Like all jokes aside, right? But if GP2 refines his 3-point shooting, we know he's not going to hit 4 and 5 a game, but if he's shooting it, like that 22 season, that literally can be the difference between a first-round exit and a conference finals appearance, in my opinion. You know how big that can be because of everything else he means to the team when he can be on the floor. But Portland is exactly, I think, what the NBA wants. Okay, you're not a playoff team. You're a young team with not a lot of star power, but you are in fun, competitive, feisty matchups every night. And I tried to warn y'all about Danny Advia. I told you, he was one of my first super deep scouting reports of that 2020 draft where we all had so much time on our hands at home, right? And he was a point guard overseas, and you could see the nasty in him right away. That was one of the things that stuck out. Okay, he's a competitor. He's an NBA competitor, right? But one of the things that was concerning was his jump shot. He kind of had a hitch in his jump shot, and he's taken that out of it. What he hit 4 threes last night, right? He's just taken, he doesn't elevate as much. And that's we talk about the quiet eye and locking on the rim. If you see a guy with a mistimed jump shot, they're jumping late or there's some sort of hitch, I think the first place you start with repairing it is you say, all right, elevate less so that way the time you can smoothen out the timing in it. And so Advia goes crazy. It felt like he couldn't miss. He had Gee just, he was cooking Gee, man. Gee had a rough night, right? But you look at this Blazers team, Anthony Simons has been kind of rumored to be on the trade block for a while now, right? I guess he doesn't fit their timetable. If Portland wants to move forward with Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp in their backcourt, Ant Simons he's on a bargain deal. 4 years, 100 mil. Like, consider that was clearly signed before these new big deals, right? And you've heard him rumored to Orlando and all these different places. I really like him. I really like him. Um, I think he can be a number 2 on a good team, but I think as a number 3 on a contender would be a perfect role for him. Kind of reminds me of a mini Tracy McGrady, a mini T Mac, in just the sense of how fluid and easy he makes everything. And you saw in that third quarter when they made the comeback, he was commanding a double team, right? I think that that's one of the true signs of like a star. Can you command a double team and break a defense? Ant Simons, yeah, if they're looking to move off of him, yeah, I'd be interested. And I think you could piece together what that would take, right? Who else? Scoot. Scoot, listen, when I heard that Scoot interview in the preseason, I was like, bro, he is. I don't know. What was he talking about? The food or something? I don't even remember what it was, but you can go look it up because it went viral. Like when you listen to Scoot talk, he doesn't necessarily breed confidence in you as like, hey, this guy can be a leader. But I think what he is figuring out is with his frame and his strength, there's no need to rush. There's no need to use quickness and bursts to do everything because Hoopers, you've played against guys like that are built like a truck where they don't necessarily got to go by you, but when they initiate contact, you're off balance and they can kind of just get where they want. And so you've seen him slow down and play with pace. And it looks like he's going to save his career because it was looking rough, right? It was looking rough. Now, I don't know if you'll ever feel confident enough to have the ball in his hands in clutch situations and like be the decision maker, the floor general of the team. But he's so athletic that I don't necessarily think he has to be that in the role that he eventually gets. He's coming off the bench still. So, yeah, it was a fun game and a contrast. I know I said Portland similar to Detroit, but just the way it played out with a lot of shot making and the game flowed so much better. It was just a fun game to watch. Steph, 2 away from 4,000 threes. I blame Fitz. He brought it up way too much, right? At the end, he was hunting it and just Fitz. You don't have to bring it up on every shot he takes. Like, just chill out. But yeah, just a fun watch. They get 2 days off. And then we see the Kings where, you see me in my Niners hoodie here. The Kings matchup, it kind of reminds me of like Niners Cardinals. I won't say it's Niners Seahawks. It's not that big of a rivalry, but it's a division game where all bets are off. No matter how good one team's playing or how bad the other team's playing, it's going to be competitive. And then you imagine, you hope, fingers crossed, this is the return of Kuminga. And anytime you're integrating an important player back into the rotation, it may cost you a half. It may cost you a game or two as far as just getting in sync. And so we'll see if Sacramento is able to take advantage of that on Thursday night. But I'm really excited to see. I think we all are really excited to see Kuminga, with what this new team looks like. And then Pods probably should be back as well. As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.